Hi everyone, meteorologist Robert Spetta here, being joined in by meteorologist Mike Adcock, meteorologist Jonathan O, all from Japan. We are talking about Typhoon Phanfone today, still moving off towards the northeast, passing by the southern Japanese islands of Japan, also over towards east of Kyushu, and then by Monday morning moving towards Tokyo. Also, the big topic today is Vongfong, which is another typhoon way over towards the Mariana Islands. So we're going to be running this live broadcast. Really encourage questions and comments if you are watching. You guys want to start off? Say anything?
I'll let you go first, Mike.
Well, yeah, definitely keeping an eye on these two storms. And actually, there's a little bit more activity starting to develop out there as well. So very active time across the basin this early October.
Yeah. Hey. Good evening. For those of you watching us in the Western Pacific, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a very interesting storm to watch. At the beginning, we were tracking this, and we were getting models that were literally going from one end of the spectrum to the other. And now we're finally seeing it come to fruition. Interestingly enough, I do want to mention that our in-house model has been very, very on target from the beginning on this storm. So we do have a good tool in our toolbox to be following this. But it's a pretty interesting storm for those of us who are in this chat right now because of the proximity and the fact that this storm is expected to pass very close to Tokyo, if not right over it, as we go through the next 36 hours, 24 to 36 hours. And I know that Robert is going to go into detail with that in just a bit. So thank you for those of you joining us. We will keep an eye out on the comments and try to get to you throughout the webcast as well.
All right, so I'll jump in on the storm right now. You guys jump in at any time if you feel like I'm missing anything, and everybody knows how these chats usually go. It's usually just a discussion and conversation, not so much of a broadcasting type of forum. So right now, though, and I do want to let everybody know, if you've watched a previous broadcast, we used to run with Wirecast. They've since gotten rid of their free version of that product, and unfortunately it does cost a very good penny. So you can donate to the website if you want to see it that way again. But for now, we're going to actually have to do the normal screen share using the Google Hangouts. You can see here the latest visible satellite imagery where our typhoon is at this time. This is Phanfone we're talking about first here, moving just towards the east of the Amami Islands. Max winds recorded out here, 45 meters per second. I believe that's right around 160 kilometers per hour. 45 meters per second. I have to actually do it. 162 kilometer per hour wind recorded there. We posted some video on our Facebook page earlier on today of some of those winds out there. It did look rather serious. About 55,000 people have lost power in parts of Kyushu and across the Amami Islands. No reports of any injuries from what I have seen at this time outside of the other big event today, and I'm not sure if you can associate this directly with the typhoon or it's a race, but one injury, actually a very serious one, was reported at the Japanese Grand Prix. They had numerous red flags in this race. Red flag at lap 2 when it started at 3 o'clock. Then they raced for a little while. Weather set in again. There was another very serious accident, and one man, actually, Jules Bianchi, I believe that's his name, actually had to be taken to the hospital by ambulance. They had the option of airlifting him out, but the weather was so bad they couldn't fly him by a helo. So this is what we're dealing with here, and it does look like he was unconscious when he went to the hospital. So still waiting for more news on that. Since then, the race has been canceled. That was the other big topic today. A lot of people were worried about how that was going to transpire. Let's take a look at the track, though, from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. For those of you out here with the U.S. military, this is your agency. They have decreased the winds down to 90, gusting up to 110 knots. Yeah, we're expecting that. It's going to continue to decrease in intensity. It's starting to go extratropical. What that means, though, it's all about perspective. This is something I've been saying for the last several days, actually. All about perspective, because even though it is decreasing, we're still seeing typhoon strength winds around the center of circulation, 80 gusting up to 150 knots from JMA. And as it passes over the Tokyo area, we're still expecting 100 plus gust 100 knot plus wind gusts across the coastal locations here. You can see this from the ECMWF model across the Izu Peninsula, Kanagawa, Chiba Prefecture. JMA is currently forecasting 92 to 100 knot wind gusts. This model's picking it up. I know the U.S. military, I think they're expecting winds gusting in Yokosuka upwards of about, shoot, what does it show here? About 85 knots. That's enough to cause some damage. A lot of coastal locations, they're built for typhoons, but the problem is when people just don't make the proper preparations. And if you're watching this update and let's say you have stuff outside right now in your yard, please stop watching, go outside right now and get your stuff, because that's usually what causes damage out here when people don't make the proper preparations. One thing we often see, especially I know we have a lot of Americans watch, and this every typhoon, you guys can back me up on this, every typhoon somebody's trampoline goes flying down the road.
Absolutely.
It happens quite often in Okinawa. Let's not make that a repeat off here towards the north, definitely. So right now it is decreasing in intensity, but and when I say that though, it's still all about perspective, and it's still a fairly intense storm system. So let's break down the timing here. Okay, I actually have this zoomed in on Vongfong. Let's move it over towards the east. I'll show you what's going on in our storm system right now. This is showing you the JTWC track basically in line with JMA finally. As Jonathan mentioned, there was a lot of disagreement earlier on. JTWC kept it offshore. They've now moved it onshore. A lot of last-minute warnings being put in place because of that. But expecting this to move off there towards the east, passing by the Key Peninsula during the early morning hours here on Monday. Big rainmaker for areas just south of Osaka. JMA now expecting about 500 to 600 millimeters. Could even see more than that. So very significant flood threat there. And then as it pushes off towards the northeast, we're going into late morning hours. It will be passing over the Tokyo area. Basically, starting from about 8 a.m. All the way out through the early afternoon hours, expect typhoon strength, least wind gust for coastal areas here across the Kanto Plain. You guys got anything you want to add on that, about the specifics of this forecast as the storm system continues to track off there?
I think it's going to be very interesting as we go into Monday morning. A lot of the people that I've been talking with throughout the day, I've been out and about and going to church and also seeing the weather conditions here. It's been raining all day here in Tokyo. It's steady rain. Occasionally we'll have a little breeze gust popping up from time to time, but one of the things that we're really concerned about is the continued rainfall and the fact that tomorrow's morning commute and probably into tomorrow afternoon, the commute is going to be an absolute mess. People are going to really start dealing with not just the rain, but the winds picking up. So many people commute on a daily basis. I mean, just Shinjuku Station alone sees 3.5 million people moving through that just in a single day. So that is something that I think that the people here living locally in Tokyo and also nearby commuting into Tokyo need to keep in touch with their local workplaces. In fact, my understanding is all the high schools in Tokyo have been shut down for Monday, and I think all the other schools, including elementary and middle schools, will follow if it hasn't already been done by now.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. Elementary schools have been closed. I actually got a message from Des School a few hours ago.
Okay, there we go.
Shut down.
So yes, schools are already preparing for that. Businesses, they usually operate slightly differently, but definitely keep that in mind because the fewer the people out in the middle of all this, the better it will be. But that's something that we'll have to be really concerned about, especially when the rain starts picking up, because it's been a decent steady rain here. So I can only imagine with what's been experienced in Western Japan, what we can expect to see here as we go through the overnight into the morning hours.
Now, Jonathan and Robert, this is my inexperience here, but how does Tokyo normally fare with regards to the trains with such amount of rainfall that we're expecting?
Actually, I was just about to mention something about what we are going to be seeing is probably these delays and cancellations, especially farther towards the south of Tokyo. We're talking about the peninsula out here in Kanagawa Prefecture. The the lines out in that direction, I know the KQ line usually shuts down really quick south of Yokohama. Most of these lines south of Yokohama will shut down also over towards Chiba. Tokyo, the metro lines, we're talking about the Ginza, Hibiya, these subways. Those usually keep running on a delayed schedule. But it's the lines that are above ground, the ones that have to go over bridges and stuff, those are usually the first ones to go down. As Jonathan mentioned, though, Tokyo, and it blew my mind when I first moved out here. Tokyo does not shut down during typhoons. One of my favorite things, actually, when I try to go out and get storm footage, is what I call umbrella graveyards, because everybody still has their umbrella and they're still heading into work, and then they always explode, and then there's always piles near train stations or stairways or entrances to buildings of just dead umbrellas. Unfortunately, that is a reality here, but the big thing is that people need to be ready for that risk of the cancellations, because a lot of people are still going to head into work, and then the storm system is going to pass overhead during the afternoon when people want to go home. So if you don't have to head out tomorrow, stay indoors. On the mention of schools as well, I did notice that a lot of the military schools have also closed. We put that on our Facebook page. I'll pull it up here in just a second. Maybe I'll try to put it up here on the screen. I know most of them, especially in Kanagawa, have been closed. And farther towards the north in Yokota, I think most of them have also been closed. Also, all of the ones in Guam have been closed, too, for the other storm system while I'm on that topic.
Absolutely, and you mentioned some of the delays and cancellations with the military. Atsugi and both Atsugi and Yokosuka are currently in TC Core 1, as well as Yokota and TC Core 2, and expected to go to 1 here later on tonight, most likely.
I am right now. Oh, go ahead, Robert.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I was working on looking at the latest model. I'll have it available for you in just a bit from Winsome, but just looked at it. It's still keeping the same progress of the forecast. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be very, very wet, and the winds are going to definitely be a big part of the story as well. I'll have that ready for you in just a bit.
All right. Just also some other people jumping in here. A few questions already being posted. I really do appreciate any feedback you guys give us and any of these comments and questions. What we are seeing here in Tokyo, I did see some people ask about the weather. It actually has been raining all day. Nothing too intense, pretty light stuff. I was still able to walk out and go get some stuff and go shopping today. Just had an umbrella, a few water pooling up. It's tomorrow morning that's really when it's going to be kicking in with the nasty weather out across the Tokyo area. I know farther towards the south it has been rather windy. A lot of schools have been already declared closed out there already. We just mentioned that. Somebody just mentioned that on the base there, most things are also been closed there for those at the military base since the early afternoon, I do believe, there as well. So preparations definitely being made.
Yeah, it's wet out there. It's wet. I mean, I was walking around in my signature. Actually, I put it out to dry. The yellow raincoat that I have, and I actually bought an umbrella. I actually have double layers right now going on because it is wet outside, and the winds will. Every once in a while, you have a little gust going on at the time, and it's going to be interesting tomorrow morning heading to work. Yeah, because I have to walk through all that to get to work tomorrow. It's going to be interesting.
I do want to mention, while that you mentioned work for tomorrow, for those of you who want to see some live broadcasting tomorrow as well, myself and Jonathan O, we're both going to be on NHK World. He gets the pleasure of being the one standing out in the rain, and I get the pleasure of being inside the comfy studio. So you can tune in and watch that. Just Google NHK World, click the link. It'll be live streaming. We're going to be talking about this storm system. I hope you have fun out there in the rain, though. That's going to be just a ton of fun.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is typhoon and tropical storm coverage allows us to actually bring you live pictures. We, of course, have many other people with the Western Pacific weather team that do post and do provide these types of pictures as well. And hopefully you'll get a chance to be able to see that. And we are getting a chance to do that on NHK World as well. But, of course, if it's safe for you to also take pictures, you can certainly post them to the Western Pacific Weather Facebook page, and we'll be able to share them out as well. But most importantly, we repeat this: yes, I'm going out in the rain and the storm, part of my job, but for you, hopefully it means staying inside and being safe as we go through this. Because of the timing of the storm again tonight into throughout the day Monday, it's going to be quite a bit of a storm moving through as we go into the day.
That's a very good point, actually. You do see some of the chasers out there, the people that are getting into the storm. Remember, those are the professionals. Yeah, please stay indoors. If you can't get photos, share them with us, but try to be as safe as possible. So I'm showing you the whole Western Pacific satellite picture, plus I didn't realize my toolbar was on the top there. We have Typhooon Phanfone moving across Japan, but also we have our other typhoon, which is not looking very pretty this evening, but it is Vongfong nearing Guam and Saipan. Let's dive in on this just for a few seconds. I know we have a lot of questions coming in on our storm system nearing Japan, but I do want to talk about this really quick. Vongfong now moving off here towards the west. The eye looks like it's actually collapsed on this storm, guys. It looks like it's undergoing some sort of weakening, but typhoon warnings are still in effect for Saipan, Rota, and Guam. I know videographer James Reynolds, our resident storm chaser out here, he flew to Guam. Unfortunately, he had a mess out here, guys. What happened was he flew to Guam, and then he got held up in Guam because he didn't have a hotel room. I guess you have to have a hotel room if you're going to fly there. He got booted off his flight to Saipan, but all of his stuff already flew to Saipan on his first flight, and now he's stuck in Guam with all of his camera gear in Saipan. So that is that has to be a very, very rough situation. I really feel for the guy flying all the way out there and then all of his stuff goes away. So we're looking for his footage, looking forward to his footage. I don't know, maybe he has some camera gear, his iPhone there out of Guam.
I was tweeting him, and I said, look, I usually don't have bad things to say about the airline that he's involved with, but, I mean, a response with saying file a baggage resolution, that doesn't work. That doesn't solve the problem of the situation. So let me quickly show you what I have here. Here's the model output here for the next 48 hours. And I think that, it's really just, when it comes to Phanfone, it's just, following through, expecting plenty of rain into Shikoku and into Kinki, and then as we go into the morning hours, plenty of rainfall to talk about as that system moves through. Notice, since you mentioned Vongfong, the system down towards south, you notice it's not resolving it very well. It's actually taking into consideration the collapse of that eye, and it's just kind of struggling along, which is interesting. That kind of matches what we were already seeing on the satellite. This is an 18Z run, so this actually is based off of data from what is it? I don't remember how many hours it is here, but anyway, so it was running this morning before I left, and I wanted to put it up, and already has accounted for the collapse of that eye. So this is making it very, very interesting. Just saying.
Yeah, that is, and for those of you who are new to the website here, that is actually an in-house model. You're not going to see that model anywhere else, so special treatment for you guys. Just showing you, also talking about Vongfong here, typhoon warnings are now in effect. Of course, we know that. What we have been seeing out here is the wind's not so intense just yet, though. For that area. Man, I keep on having it, my screen's at the wrong storm. Gosh darn it. Okay, moving over here now. Let's take a look at Anderson Air Force Base. This is here on the northern periphery. Still seeing 9-knot winds there for those of you. Rota, not that intense. Also been seeing the rain throughout the day, but the winds haven't kicked in. They're not going to be kicking in until the early morning hours when that storm system starts to push overhead. So really, it's still light, but it's coming, guys, and you're definitely going to be bracing for impact during the early morning hours. Shelters have been set up as well. I do know that on our Facebook page we actually posted that's the wrong one. On our Facebook page, we actually posted some of these shelters there. I'm not going to go ahead and read through them. Just go ahead and go to facebook.com/Western Pacific Weather, and you can go ahead and check that out if you feel like you needed to go to a shelter if you're out here into Guam or Saipan. So let's go back. We got more questions, guys. A lot of people watching right now out of Japan. Somebody just posted some stuff. I'm sorry, I do not read that, but I do like your heart emoticon, X5GO. All right, so question right now, Tokyo, Japan. When is the storm coming, and how strong is it going to be? One of you guys want to talk about that exactly?
I actually was preparing for that question. I am looking at the JMA track, which I have to say JMA's been, in my opinion, has been a little bit better on following the storm. We are expecting this to be arriving at around. You notice the? Can you see the screen with the track?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are expecting this approximately the center of the storm to be west of the Kanagawa Prefecture, on the far western end of the Kanagawa Prefecture, around 9 o'clock local time Monday morning. But of course, the periphery of the storm is going to already be slamming into Tokyo at that point. Winds are going to be running at around 126 kilometers per hour, with gusts much higher than that near the center of the storm. So that means that as we progress through the afternoon hours, notice 6 hours later, it's already expected to go out into the sea. So we're looking at anywhere from 9 to 3 o'clock. That's going to be the hard time period when we're going to see the wind sustained at close to 126 kilometers per hour and gusting closer to, let me see here, 50, so yeah, I have my calculator, up to 180 kilometers per hour as we go throughout the late morning into the early afternoon hours. And then once it starts to depart, this is something that's significant. We're already seeing cooler temperatures right now. We're expecting highs to barely reach the 20-degree mark. And once that wraparound cold air comes in, boom, your temperatures are going to sink. It's going to feel like early winter, late fall, early winter temperatures outside because of that. It's because of the circulation coming in from the north. So get your cold weather gear out for a couple of days. And it's going to clear up pretty nicely once that departs as we go through Tuesday and Wednesday, but it's going to also be a lot colder in the process. But again, breaking it down simply, 126 km per hour winds gusting up to 180, time period specifically for Tokyo between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. During the day Monday.
Actually, just to pick it up there for you, after you on the temperature standpoint, I'm going to try to pull that up here. You can see here actually with our Meteor Earth app, it really shows it kind of nicely, and I'll change this over to temperature vice the speed. You have that warm air coming in from the south, but yeah, this storm system really is wrapping that air in from the north, and Mike's going to be sharing some of his cooler weather with us all the way up there from Misawa, because all those winds are really starting to pull in from the north. And this is exactly what Jonathan is talking about here. So once our storm system pushes east, yes, somebody did comment there, said it's been cool out today. 2 reasons for that. Cloudy skies, of course. The sun isn't able to penetrate this. But this cooler air is going to be wrapping in around this storm system from the north. So you do want to have your jackets ready after the storm system passes. Things are going to definitely start to chill down. This could be one of our first pretty decent shots of autumn weather out here for the, well, not just Tokyo, but for most of Japan. Scroll back out here for the precipitation back up as well. So, yeah, exactly. The storm system just moving across, passing. Also, I do want to take a note here, and I'm going to share up the total accumulation outlook from the ECMWF here. Just 1 second. So we're talking about the winds a lot here, right? The other big problem is going to be the rain, and every time we see a storm system skirt the coastline of Japan here, we always talk about rainfall, specifically for the Kii Peninsula. Now, the Kii Peninsula is this right here, guys. This one that sticks out for those of you watching who aren't really familiar with the geography. Off here is Tokyo. That is 0603 UTC when the storm's going to pass over there. I also agree with Jonathan on the JMA track. It's been fairly decent. So noontime, but during the early morning hours, this is going to be passing over the Kii Peninsula. And as we can see here with our ECMWF outlook, let's go ahead to 72 hours. Some areas here, I mean, we're looking at 7 to 8 inches. That's 400 millimeters of rainfall. Definitely a big flood threat. But also east of that, take a look at this around the Izu Peninsula. Some heavy rain occurring there outside the Kanto Plain. And the problem is, you get all that rain hitting these mountains here. All that has to go somewhere. It flows downstream, and a lot of that flows through Tokyo. So we start to see the flood threat in some of these rivers in Tokyo as well. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of different things ongoing here.
Also, JMA has issued a warning for the Izu Islands because of the heavy rainfall on the ground, loosening inundation concerns. For those of you who were in Tokyo back last year, Wimpha caused the deaths of at least 40 people because of that exact same problem. The concern is all that rainfall flowing into, and by the way, the Izu Islands are considered part of Tokyo, even though they're islands further south from there. But because of the amount of rainfall that is expected, and because of the fact that it's a small island, the ground is, loosened in the process, and so they're already getting concerned about that. So you're right. I mean, the rain sometimes is forgotten when we talk about the wind speeds, but this is definitely. I mean, it's already bringing plenty of rainfall, and I definitely agree that this is going to definitely cause some flooding threats as we continue throughout the next 24 hours.
All right, so what I put up here on my screen is actually the different tracks here, not just from JMA or JTWC. This is from Typhoon 2000, by the way, and I really love this graphic. Now, something we have been seeing a lot was that JTWC was actually off the coast. And really surprised me how, we were discussing this earlier, how stubborn they were on keeping the storm system to the right of the track. What they were expecting was it to, I guess, historical bias. Sometimes these storm systems really race pretty fast, and they stay just offshore. But the center line, once the storm system gets farther towards the north, even if it doesn't make landfall, it doesn't matter very much because we still are going to be seeing a fairly large wind field. The good news is that all the agencies have come in line. So the reason why I'm showing you this graphic is the fact that if you're thinking that this storm system is going to be missing you, it's not going to be happening, guys. Everybody agrees that this storm system is coming, and it definitely is going to be bringing some pretty nasty weather during the early morning hours. Once again, basically starting from around 8 a.m., extending out through noontime when it's going to pass right over Tokyo through the early afternoon hours. That's when the worst of these conditions really are going to be out here.
I just saw a comment from someone living in Tokyo about how they're going to the konbini, which is the convenience store. Yeah, do it now because you're not going to want to go outside as we go further this overnight period. So if you live in Tokyo right now and you're saying, my refrigerator is a little bit empty right now, go now. Go now, get the food, get it in your fridge now, because you don't want to go outside when we go to tomorrow morning. In fact, I stopped by the convenience store on the way back to my house as well in preparation for that.
Yeah, and it's not just that. The other big problem, and what we see, is, yes, it's dangerous during the storm system, but I found this out the last time we had a storm move through Tokyo, is that everything is closed, or not everything. Not everything usually stays open, but the supply trucks don't get there. So I have a very small refrigerator. We only keep so much food in our refrigerator. But the next day we were on ramen noodles, cup of noodles, because we didn't go out shopping for anything big. We just figured, hey, everything stays open. So even though stuff does stay open and you don't want to go out during the storm, but the next day when you head out to the grocery store or the convenience store, there's not going to be a lot of options available for you if you are in the Tokyo area. It takes a couple days for all those supply trucks. Shipments aren't coming in, it takes a few days for all that stuff to get restocked up. So yeah, if you're watching now and you have an empty refrigerator and you think tomorrow I'll go get it, how about just play it safe, guys, and definitely you want to be staying indoors tomorrow. Get your chew highs, as Edwin just mentioned there, and ride this one out. Mike, you haven't jumped in a while. You got anything you want to add to that aspect of the conversation?
No. Actually, we're talking about the rainfall, and for a very good reason. We've been focusing a lot on Tokyo and all that, but you know, we're going to be seeing a lot of it throughout all of Honshu as as the system continues to make its way to the east. Even up as far north, Aomori Prefecture. I mean, we're looking at about an inch and a half of rainfall. So I mean, it's going to be widespread heavy rainfall. We're going to be seeing a lot of flooding. In terms of, I mean, it's still going to pale in comparison to the southern shores there, but yeah, it's going to be a very widespread system as it continues its extratropical transition.
By the way, I just checked the warnings update that came down at 6:30 this evening. Chiba and Kanagawa prefectures have now been added to the concerns for the inundation and the heavy rainfall. Not surprising, but yeah, they're trying to add to. In fact, if you look at this map right now, let me share it for you real quick. It is starting to. You can start to see a little bit of the pattern that's taking place, which is more and more of the southern regions, the southern coast of Japan. In fact, now almost all of the southern coast of Japan is now under some form of rainfall warning at this point because of the typhoon now moving. And it's, again, not very surprising because of the way that the storm is riding up along that coast, coming in from the west.
Speaking of farther towards the north there, Mike, what do you think about the Tohoku region? Are we going to be seeing some pretty nasty weather up that way? I know you've been looking at the forecast specifically for that area.
With regards to this system, it's going to be pretty breezy right now, at least up toward Aomori. That's where I've been focusing a lot of my attentions for. Easterly winds, looking for winds kicking up to about 35 knots. So now, being that it's October, it's not all that unusual for us to get winds that strong. So really, it's not going to be anything completely out of the ordinary. Really, the biggest issue I'm going to see is the rainfall. Again, it's been kind of dry up here, so it's not going to be outside of some flash flooding. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. Now, we were talking earlier about the temperatures. We're also going to be looking at cooler temperatures up here as we transport our cool temperatures down your way, but still looking for highs about 14, 15 degrees Celsius tomorrow, morning lows in the upper single digits, and that's going to carry us through for the next few days, just getting a little bit cooler, getting us into the more October time frame up here.
Yeah, the other big thing, I'm looking at the Meteor Earth app here, and actually our winds here, and I'll put it back up on the screen. Yeah, definitely not uncommon for out there towards the north. The other big thing I have been seeing, I'm going to pull it up on the screen here, is a lot of people are asking, of course they're asking, especially mostly foreigners outside of Japan, but this is the comments we get on our YouTube channel, is the Fukushima area. I'm just going to quickly mention it. They are expecting, JMA has put out that typhoon strength gusts could be seen across coastal areas from Miyagi Prefecture extending off towards the north. That plant is secured for Daiichi. I know a lot of people are asking about that. Definitely something we're watching, and if there is any news on it, we'll let you know. But I do know they are making as much preparations as possible to prevent any sort of incident from taking place farther off there towards the north, expecting that to really pass by during the evening hours there across eastern portions of Tohoku, just offshore. So I just want to mention that for those of you who are concerned. So, Jonathan, what do you have up on your screen there? I see you're pulling up the radar.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on what's happening here. This is the what is it? The high resolution radar that they have put on the website. The JMA put on the website right now, and you're seeing pockets of these downpours now starting to move through portions down toward the southwest of Tokyo, and that's going to be the case where every once in a while, because a tropical system, while you have this persistent rain type setup, you're going to see waves of downpours that are going to push through, and so that's definitely something that I wanted to check real quick and see how it's looking. The southern tip of Chiba now starting to get in on some of that action. it's just very interesting to continue to see that. And I want to pull out real quick and take a look and see how things are looking back toward the west here.
Yeah, let's see that center of circulation there.
Wow, look at that. I mean, and look at the southwestern corner of Shikoku just getting slammed wave after wave of those bands. I mean, we're looking at close to 50 to 80 millimeters of rain per hour. And it's been over that area for quite some time. So we're looking at a few hundred millimeters of rainfall just in the next few hours.
Do we have any reports for rainfall totals so far?
Yeah, got it up right here. Thus far, in the past 24 hours, in Kagoshima Prefecture, 330 millimeters of rainfall has been reported, and Tengishima, that's an island there in the Amami Island, so actually upwards of 333 now. You were just mentioning Tokyo, though. I mean, excuse me, I'm looking at something here. Shikoku's not in the top 10. This is interesting, though. Miyakejima, this is some of the Izu Islands, has been seeing upwards about 300 millimeters of rainfall today as well. So it's some nasty weather out there, even farther towards the north and towards the east of the storm system.
Yeah, and I also noticed that the storm hasn't wrapped itself around and making that tilt, the axis tilt in itself, which means it's still going pretty strong. And I think it's, as we're looking at the forecast and what we are expecting also, it's going to stay very strong at least for the next 12 to 18 hours, and then a weaken as it continues to receive more resistance from the mountains of Japan, and then, yeah, it's going to start weakening then. So this storm is still quite potent as we continue to monitor this.
Actually, I'll put it up on my screen here, and I'll show you what Jonathan's talking about. And what we have is the jet stream blowing overhead. And I got it up on my screen. And what this usually happens when this blows from west to east, it blows our storm system off towards the side. But if we pull that radar back up on the screen here, what we are seeing is it's not really, yeah, we do have that front off towards the north and east, but it's not totally getting blown out like a candle just yet. So we still have that moisture wrapping around the southern periphery. That means this is still maintaining strength. So we are seeing weakening, but this is still a full-fledged typhoon. Is that kind of the point you're trying to draw up here, Jonathan?
Essentially, that's exactly. Yeah, you worded it a lot better than I did.
I like to use pictures.
Thanks.
So, all right. So we got a couple things here, a couple questions going on, and the last one was about storm surge. I want to talk about this one, and we often get that question about storm surge out here for Japan. The good news is that for Japan, we don't see surge really take place that often. That's actually some pretty fantastic news. The reason is that we have a lot of most coastal locations for Japan, especially along the eastern seaboard, are very rocky. They're very they're cliffs basically. So if we do see a surge, it's for low-lying areas, but you don't really hear too much about flooding due to a storm surge. The bigger problem for Japan is the flooding due to the rainfall, because those cliffs are attached to the mountains, and those mountains cause heavy rain. Also, another question about the surge for Guam and Saipan. As far as this storm system, this is for Vongfong, it's a weak Category 1, so I don't really see much of a surge going on there. And also Guam and Saipan, they're mostly cliffs as well. The low-lying areas, the beach fronts, definitely are going to be evacuated ahead of this, but there is that threat of some coastal flooding taking place.
There's a very good question, Robert. You would know this. I wouldn't know this, and so because you have a son. Someone is asking that they have a daughter that's studying here in Tokyo, but they don't know if the school's canceled or not. So they're saying, is there an agency? Is there a school administration that they should be contacting to find out? Website?
I would actually contact their school directly. I do know at this time, though, my son, we got a message from them earlier that it has been canceled. I think all elementary schools in Tokyo have been canceled. Public schools. Private schools, I actually just got word that from one of our friends that goes to an international school, it was still running. Some international schools are stubborn. I mean, the parents pay like crazy amount of money for their kids to go to school, so they're like, wow, we're going to school. So yeah, the school my son used to go to. I'm from the last word I heard, they're still running for
Wow.
tomorrow, which blows my mind. But from what I do know, as far as finding out, I do think you actually should just check the website for that school specifically. Usually NHK or whatever's on TV, they'll announce that stuff has been closed. But if you are a part of the Tokyo public school system, the last word I have heard is that all schools in the Tokyo public school system have been closed. That's from what the information I'm getting past to me.
Yeah, that's what I heard. At least for me, I heard high schools, but you said then elementary school got involved. So my understanding is then all public schools in Tokyo, on the Tokyo public school system, they're closed. But like you said, private schools, anything else, that you're going to have to contact the school for that.
Somebody says it around public to the base. The military base is totally separate incident as well. There's a lot of Japan's there's a lot of you have to deal with the military, and I know a lot of people watching are part of the military. Actually, you know what? It's been ever changing. We posted it on our Facebook page earlier on today, as far as what the military schools have been closed. When we were talking about the school closures. I know that the schools in Zama, elementary schools have been closed. The Yokosuka schools have all been closed. Yokota, I'm not sure. Mike, you were talking about earlier that the Yokota was only in Stormwatch and they didn't have too much, and then they upgraded, so maybe some new information has come to light. Is Mike still with us, actually?
He stepped out for just a second. He'll be back.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He had to go run an errand. That's right. Yeah, so I'm not sure about them. Actually, if somebody is watching from the Yokota base there, I know that there should be some people watch from there. Why don't you put it in the comment section what you know, and then we can relay it there. And that's really the big thing about this. We can relay the information you're giving to us. So good stuff there.
Okay. Someone asked a question about Mount Ontake.
That's another fantastic question, actually. They were asking about Lahars.
Simply put, it's not good. They already were stopping for non-typhoon related rainfall just a couple of days ago. They had to suspend the search then. Now we're talking about these waves of rain that's moving over Ontake. That's just going to mess everything up when it comes to their ability to do anything. And I mean, Robert, what do you think?
As far as Ontake is concerned, yeah, I do know that earlier this afternoon, all I would call it recovery efforts at this point, were suspended. The death toll now up to 51, I believe. And yeah, the problem is when you get loose ash, and this volcano, it has been on and off erupting this past week. It wasn't just a one eruption, so the ash still hasn't really settled. There is the threat of lahars, as that somebody mentioned there in the comment box. The good news is that if we do see that, we do see some mud flows occurring because of this. There is a huge evacuation area, a huge restriction area outside of official rescue efforts, which have been suspended around the mountains. So there shouldn't be any further casualties coming from this. The bad news is for those still missing, it could add another element to the recovery efforts, and definitely a very grim situation ongoing there on the mountain. But I don't think it's going to be having any impact on any population.
Yeah. Good question, though.
Yeah, that is a very good question, and actually we were talking about that earlier on as well. Hey, okay, so these people, they keep on relaying T-core conditions. Somebody asked, what is this T-core stuff? Especially foreigners like us who are in Japan. I'm prior military, so I know what it means. Somebody is saying about the Yokota, everything's closed there, the schools there are closed. I'm going to put this up on the screen really quick. And basically, when we throw these things out there, it's military lingo, and we know that the military understands it. I'm trying to relay both their warnings and also the Japan Meteorological Agency warnings. They're under those flood inundation warnings. This is what we're talking about, these T-core ones. Basically, when we say that, it's a typhoon warning. Anticipating typhoon strength winds, 50 knots or greater, not quite typhoon, but damaging. In the next 12 hours, T-Core 1 caution, emergency recovery. If you see that one attached to it, it means where you are, it's going to be some pretty nasty weather in the near term or currently happening. They go through a whole system here, starting out from about 72 hours out. It's all about planning. It's all about their planning purposes, and yeah, that's what we're talking about when we go through that. So I did see a couple people asking specifically about that.
Just always be situationally aware. And I want to follow up. We've talked about this in previous webcasts before, but I do want to mention a lot of people are very dependent on that system. But remember that the best way to also stay safe is to use your common sense. Just because, let's say, the T-core situation or the status has been lifted or lowered in intensity doesn't mean that it's necessarily safe for you. So please make sure that you are situationally aware before you make a decision to go outside, because when officials are trying to make the decision when it comes to the military base, they're trying to do the best they can, but they don't have eyes at every single location. So you need to make sure that you take care of yourself and make sure that you're protecting your well-being and your family safety as you are there. Because, yeah, I know we Americans really like our structured numbered system. We like our color coding and our numerical systems. But you have to also make sure you're looking out for yourself. And I know that sounds childish to mention that, but you'll be quite surprised at how many people out there actually just say, oh, okay, the number's lifted, and they'll actually just go out without actually thinking about it. And we hear stories about those incidents, and we're just trying to just reiterate, please be safe and just look around and make sure that you're making the right decision as you're stepping outside, even when the T-core system is already lifted.
Yeah, so yeah, I agree. The best idea is that, and not just that, but even for those of you who are here in Japan, and let's say you don't speak Japanese and you're not getting those full warnings. Thanks for tuning in with us, because you're getting some information at least, so you are making the attempt. But if you tell your friends and they don't know there's a warning, if it looks dangerous outside, that's always the thing we always say in these casts. It probably is. That's your common sense. That's your human instinct telling you, hey, this probably isn't going to be a smart thing. So Monday, it's going to be rough out there. Hey, Jonathan, do you want to take a few minutes? Let's take a break.
Sure, yeah, we can take a break here.
Yeah, we've been running straight for about 50 minutes now. Let's take a 10 to 15-minute break. If you have any questions, comments, let us know in the comment box, and once we come back, we will answer them and run through here for some more time. Any last-minute information, we're still tracking the storm system rolling up the coast. I'll just put on satellite imagery on the screen, and we'll be back in just a second. Hi, everyone, and we are back. Meteorologist Robert Spetta joined in here by meteorologist Jonathan O. and meteorologist Mike Adcock, all of us from Japan, and we are talking about Typhoon Phanfone. I know a lot of you are watching from the Tokyo area, definitely keeping a very close eye on this storm system. I do want to give you some quick updates about some of the latest information. Then we're going to go over towards Guam, talk about that for a second, because we have another typhoon. That's people there are bracing for impact, and we actually have some people in the comments asking specifically about Guam. And then we're going to break down the forecast in detail. So first, we mentioned this at the start of the update. There's a lot of stuff happening here, and I want to give you a quick update on the fact that we had that Formula One wreck there, and Suzuka. The race was ongoing, and unfortunately, there was one very serious injury. I wouldn't call it directly related to this typhoon, but definitely indirectly. The wreck was caused by some heavy rainfall. One man was actually, Jules Bianchi, was taken to the hospital for very serious injuries. He was actually supposed to be airlifted, but was not. He was taken by ambulance because the helicopter would not fly in the weather that was ongoing. Last we know that he was unconscious because of this very serious crash that took place, and the race did get stopped there at lap 46. It's over with. The Japanese Grand Prix has definitely ended. So that's definitely a very ongoing situation. I know you may think that's not directly related to weather, but that's been a big topic. How was that race going to be impacted by this typhoon? It got ended early, and it got ended on a grim note because of heavy rain associated with this storm. So I just wanted to mention that. I know a lot of people were asking specific questions about that. Where's our storm system now? Well, it's off here towards the east of Japan. You've probably seen there on the satellite picture. We had something running there a second ago. I'll put it up there on the screen, our current radar image, just moving towards the east of Kyushu, off towards the northeast. Still seeing a lot of heavy rainfall across parts of the Kii Peninsula over towards Shizuoka in the Kanto Plain due to this front that's been pulling our storm system towards the northeast. So if you're in Tokyo, you have been seeing rain all day. You got anything you want to jump in on this, Jonathan?
Yes, it has been raining all day here in Tokyo. I was actually out and about going to parts of Ginza for church services, and it was wet. I mean, we were so trying to get the equipment in and out of the building there, and it looks like that we are going to continue to see the rainfall. And it's in terms of the track timing. You mind if I go over that real quickly?
Yeah, sure. Let's go over that really quick, and then we'll run over the Guam.
Okay, so for those of you who have been waiting or who just jumped in the broadcast, let me show you what's happening in terms of the track. And so far, JMA has been doing a pretty good job in terms of its following this along. This is what we are expecting as we go into the early morning hours. We're going to see the storm system moving and approaching Tokyo. Around the time we go around 9 o'clock or so, that's when we're going to see the system right west of Tokyo in terms of the center of circulation. That's when we're going to start seeing the heavy rainfall intensify. That's when we're going to see the lowest pressure taking place. And it's going to be over close to a 6-hour period when this storm is going to be at its worst through 3 p.m. Now, that does not mean that after 3 o'clock, Tokyo is going to clear up and it's going to, oh, beautiful skies have returned, because the storm is still packing a lot of rain and a lot of wind, even on the west side of the storm, at the northwest quadrant, as it continues to wrap itself around. So it looks like when it comes to the rain, we're looking still well into the evening on Monday with some gusty conditions. We are still expecting the system to be a very strong to a strong typhoon with winds at least at 120 kilometers per hour with gusts up to 180 as we go throughout that key period between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. on Monday. So it is going to be critical for you to make sure that, if at all possible, stay indoors, because this storm is surprisingly not weakening significantly, and it's not a surprise in the sense that we weren't expecting it, but because it's still over waters, but it's encountering land, we would see some weakening, but not nearly enough to tear the storm apart. It's going to take some time. We're looking at close to late Monday into Tuesday, when it finally goes away from land, that's when we're expecting it to weaken enough to where it's no longer a significant tropical system. But throughout Monday, plenty of rainfall concerns for the southern coast of Japan as it passes toward the east, and then as we go into Tuesday, that's when the system should start to depart. I think that's when we start worrying about some of the northern portions of Japan, because that wraparound moisture will still be affecting those prefectures because of the rainfall. So again, 9 a.m. 3 p.m. core time period, so that's commute time. It's just probably the worst time period when it comes to people trying to commute is when we're going to see the worst of the system in Tokyo proper. And then after that, we'll still see the rain, we'll still see the gusty winds, but they will be on the downtrend as we go into Monday evening, and then as we go into Tuesday. A lot of that will start clearing out. We should see much improved conditions, but much colder temperatures. In fact, we're already seeing the colder temperatures now. It's going to get even colder as we go into the overnight period into Tuesday.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Jonathan. Just put it up here on the screen. This is a track the military might be familiar with as well. Just showing that storm system as it does approach the Tokyo area, still expecting those typhoon strength winds. JMA also put out those gusts upwards about 90 to 100 knots, especially near the immediate coastline. So it is weakening, but it's all relative. So yeah, that. Hopefully that answers those questions people were asking about the specifics of the storm system and how it's going to be impacting the greater Tokyo area. Let's pull back the picture though, and let's move east to Guam. We have our other storm system. We are still watching very closely Vongfong. You can see it out there, and hey, this storm system really not pretty at all. Actually, it's actually not looking very organized. And I'll put up here on the screen the current satellite imagery. I mean, where'd the eye go on this one, guys?
I just had to chuckle on that one. It's interesting how the Mariana Islands have had a very unlucky couple of weeks. They had a system last week, then they had to deal with Phanfone, and now they're dealing with Vongfong. And it's interesting though, the dynamics I think are just a bit different, and it's causing the system to really weaken a bit. The in-house model that we've been looking at, it's looking at it and saying it's going to fizzle in the process, and it is indeed fizzling as we speak. I think Mike may have a little bit of better insight in terms of the dynamics down there.
Sorry. I was going to just jump in really quick and say this is good news that it is weakening out. Let's talk about the warnings in place, at least at this time, from the Guam National Weather Service, despite we're not seeing a full-blown storm system. And a reason why I asked this, and asked where did this eye go, because somebody just made a fairly valid point. They're saying, why is JMA, the Japan Meteorological Agency, still have this as actually somebody said tropical storm. It's upgraded to a typhoon here. We have 65 knot winds. I was curious. I was thinking, I thought this was already a typhoon via JMA. But they do have it as a weaker one, 65, Category 1. JTWC does it have, has a stronger storm system. I'll put that up here on your screen, with winds upwards. Let's see what they have on their latest warning. I know it's upwards about 90 gusting to 110 knots. They're a little bit more aggressive. Quite often with their winds, they have a lower wind scale, 1 minute vice a 10-minute, but also JTWC typically is more aggressive with the speeds of these storm systems. I mean, you've seen that with Phanfone as well. They're often quite higher. JMA says they do the same analysis, but I think 90 to 110 is a little bit aggressive. I mean, Mike, you're good at the Dvorak, and have you checked any of the numbers on this? Because it seems like 90 is a little bit aggressive on this.
Yeah, well, there's a couple things at play here. First off, we also have to keep in mind that JMA and JTWC, while they're still reporting winds in knots or kilometers per hour, whatever unit of measurement you like to use, there's a different scale of time that's at play here. JMA uses a 10-minute average for the wind speeds, whereas JTWC uses a 1-minute average. So to put this into a perspective, if you're standing out holding a anemometer, JTWC, you're standing out there for 1 minute, and that's your wind speed, whereas JMA is using a 10-minute average. What that does is, with the 10-minute average, your peaks and lulls kind of average out, and it ends up to be about 14% lower. So from the get-go, JMA is going to be a little bit lower, or JTWC rather, a little bit higher, and that's just a nature of the beast and how the wind speeds are measured. Now, as we lean more toward Dvorak estimates, one of the rules that they use, and this is JTWC uses Dvorak extensively with tropical cyclones in the Pacific Ocean. And one of the rules with Dvorak is anytime a storm weakens, the rule says you do not weaken the storm, at least initially. So initially, or earlier today, we had Dvorak readings up to T5.0, which would be about a major major typhoon strength, just shy of it, about 90 knots. Since then, the storm has weakened. This as of 9 Zulu, so about an hour ago, or about 40 minutes ago, really. They were shown an off-white eye surrounded by medium gray, and what that is with Dvorak, there's a specific enhancement that they use on the infrared satellite that kind of different colors correlate to different temperatures. When that compared to the eye wall came up to a 4.5, 4.5 would be only about 77 knots. So what was observed by satellite and what we're seeing here on this satellite loop really only about 77 knots, but because of Dvorak rules don't allow us to weaken a storm, at least for those first 24 hours, they're maintaining 90 knots. So it's a very valid argument that this storm isn't as robust as what JTWC is saying. And just the truth of the matter is we're following the Dvorak rules that doesn't allow us to weaken the storm, at least initially.
Thanks, Mike. Very great in-depth breakdown on that. Really appreciate it. So hopefully that answers some people's questions about the intensity difference. Regardless, though, hey, Rota, Saipan, Northern Guam specifically, that includes the Andersen Air Force Base there. You are going to be seeing some pretty gusty, at least winds gusting up to typhoon strength. Also, the heavy rainfall. The Guam National Weather Service does have typhoon warnings in place, and if we click on this, I mean, they're saying that you're going to be seeing some pretty nasty weather out here, and you want to just basically stay indoors, head to a shelter if need be, and just be prepared for this. We saw with Halong when that moved through, and Halong was just a tropical storm when that storm system came overhead, if you remember back 2 months ago. That blocked most roads on the island. Most roads were flooded. We had down power lines across the island, down trees. So even these weaker storm systems can bring some pretty rough weather. So you want to stay indoors here on Monday. Somebody had mentioned the threat of storm surge. I don't see it happening with this one much. The eastern coast of Saipan and Rota, you probably could see some coastal flooding. That's right there in the right front quadrant. But I think the bigger problem is going to be the winds blowing around heavy light debris of people that were not safe, also downing trees. Hey guys, let's talk about the long range with this storm system, though. Let's pull up a model here, and I want to show this because we have the ECMWF as keeping it farther down here towards the south, bouncing off a high pressure off towards the north. But we have been seeing that with the ECMWF lately, haven't we? Kamorti did that, and now Phanfone did that. The GFS has been pretty good at pulling it towards the north, and we're kind of seeing that curving off towards the northeast. But it stalls out south of Japan, so that has some low confidence in it as well. That's with the GFS. The NavGem also showing that recurvature, or at least the last run I've seen was showing that recurve. There it is, pushing close in a very, very similar track as Phanfone. So in the long range, Vongfong could be playing a part in impacting possibly Japan yet again in a very similar situation as Phanfone.
It has been a very interesting 3-4 weeks, hasn't it? I mean, there was a very active start to the Western Pacific season. Then there was a little lull, and now it's just firing right back up as we go into late September, early October.
Yeah, it's been especially August was a record-breaking low. As far as typhoons, there was none out here, and now we have back to back to back. So Yeah, that's really all we're going to talk about on Vongfong right now, unless you guys want to break it down a little bit more. Um, yeah, also, I see Mike actually just put up here Anderson Air Force Base now in their T-Core 1 as far as the military there. Typhoon warnings have been in place, so that storm system definitely coming, and you want to be taking it very seriously. I know that the good news for Guam and that for people watching this update is that, hey, you got English TV available, so I don't see as many people tuning in from Guam as that we would say from here in Japan, because the problem with Japan is that people are, if you're not watching NHK World, which, hey, if you're watching NHK World, thank you, because that's probably the only English TV station in Japan. Me and Jonathan are actually on that, so we're not on it right now, so you don't have any English TV available. Sorry, guys. We will be tomorrow, though, so I'll do a little self-promotion tomorrow throughout the morning into the afternoon hours. Jonathan's going to be out there doing some live broadcasting from the field, and I'll be in the studio. So, hey, we'll be there to provide some information on that platform.
Yes, we would definitely be. I mean, we both have very early mornings prepared to make sure that we are covering the storm. For those of you who asked, there's one person who just commented, Catherine, who was asking about Yokohama and Yamate. How's that looking? Just like Tokyo, in terms of concerns, we're talking about a lot of rainfall for you. We're talking about the winds are also going to be an issue for you. You probably are looking more starting at 8 a.m. as the real, and you're going to continue to deal with the rain, I mean, throughout the overnight period into the morning hours too. I mean, it's going to continue, but the winds will pick up probably a little bit faster for you because of the proximity of the low coming towards you, and then Tokyo will kind of start picking it up really into closer to typhoon strength when we go into the 9 o'clock hour. So Yokohama, yeah, you're involved in this just as well. And the question that you asked, and for those of you who just joined us, and we mentioned this toward the beginning of the previous hour, if you have children in Tokyo public schools, you don't have school. But if you're in a private school, you need to check with your school. If you're in Yokohama, you need to check with your schools because we haven't gotten any information to indicate to us that school has been canceled. So we don't know. We haven't been given any indication. Check the website if they have one to see if they have provided that information. And if you have to call, you can. Of course, it's Sunday night. I don't know if anyone's going to answer, but simply put, Yokohama, because of its proximity.
Yeah, Yokohama is actually going to be closer to the center line
Yeah.
of this storm system, so it would really blow my mind if schools were still ongoing. Actually, I'll put it up here on the map of where the track is right now and where the winds are going to be. It really blew my mind. You're closer to the coast. Your winds are going to be coming in not only from the west, but as our storm system pushes by, we're also going to be seeing some winds across the bay. So, hey, if you're out there, I think that you're probably good bet you're probably going to be seeing stuff. Actually, typically the train south of Yokohama, when we get storms like this and they blow by, the train south of that, specifically, I know the KQ line, most of the time the JR lines, often shut down or they go on very limited train service. The Tokyo line from Tokyo to Yokohama, that usually goes to local trains only, and it's very infrequent. So, hey, trains are probably, I haven't seen any reports. I know some Shinkansen lines have already shut down, but Monday it's going to be, if not canceled, limited service out here.
I mean, the thing is, I know the Denatoshi line and the Tokyo Toyoko lines, they're all going, from Yokohama to Tokyo and back. And I mean, I just can't imagine seeing them running on time. They're definitely going to be dealing with major delays. I mean, Shinjuku Station, Shibuya stations, it's going to be a mess with commute tomorrow. It's going to be awful, not only in the morning. At first, we thought it was mainly going to be morning, and then the system would take off. At least I was thinking that it may be a little faster, but I don't think it's going to be nearly that fast now. And so we're looking at morning and afternoon. So it's just going to be a mess all the way around.
Hey, Mike, you were talking about you wanted to break down some information. You still want to go through that?
Actually, that was kind of what we were talking about earlier with the Dvorak.
Oh, okay. I thought you were actually going to pull up the satellite analysis. I'm sorry. Great, good stuff. You really broke it down already, so that's fine.
I was waiting for him to pull out his like whiteboard and stuff and the marker board and start writing it all down for us. I mean, he was giving a lot of good information with that last analysis. So
yeah, I didn't want to make sure we were kind of talking over some analysis breaking down there. Mike's our resident. He really, and actually at the meet and greet this year, a little off topic, he does plan on presenting and teaching us how to properly do Dvorak. So we're definitely looking forward to that. He's learned how the guys at the official agencies to get their information, because when we talk about wind speeds here, and we're talking about the current wind intensity inside this typhoon, there's no recon in the Western Pacific. What you do is you base it off of historical analysis and historical reports, and then you look at the satellite picture, and then you look at the shades of light and gray between the satellite picture, and then you get your estimate on how strong these typhoons are.
Yeah, and we are looking forward to that. The meet and greet, for those of you who are not aware of this, will be taking place in November. You can get all the details on the Western Pacific Weather site. It's going to be, third annual now?
Yes, third.
Wow, third annual. So, yeah. So, if there are some burning questions or you just want to hang out with the nerdy meteorologist, I'm sorry, I can't say that. I'm the nerdy one. The other ones are the cool ones. So, and so if you want to hang out with them, and we'll be all there and have any questions on it, make sure to plan on joining us for that.
All right, that'll be in Manila. And also, speaking of the Philippines, we did get a question about Vongfong is going to enter the Philippine area of responsibility. That's basically the Philippines. It might actually, Phanfone did as well. It just clipped the northeastern portions of that area. Vongfong might as well, but I really don't see it pulling south. There's actually a disturbance. It's Invest 91W now being labeled just towards the east of the Philippines. It's been bringing showers out here, and it could actually develop as we look ahead. So there's some activity there, but we're not going to talk about it too much. Philippines are good. If you're watching right now, watch out for showers in the southern portion. Let's stay on topic with Phanfone here, which is the one that is bringing that, destructive weather potentially destructive weather across parts of Japan here in the next 24 hours. So I hope that answers your question, though. This is actually a good question, and I am not an economist.
Yeah, I know.
Right? We need to get some of our economy friends on here. Honestly, the typhoons sometimes, from what I have seen, they sometimes have a slight effect on the numbers out here in Japan. The stock exchange, actually, you know what? That's a good question. I'm not even sure if the stock exchange is running on Monday. Sometimes it does close when we get typhoons running through. So might have to look that up.
Just as an off-key note, I think honestly right now the Japanese, the Nikkei, the stock investors are actually a little bit more concerned about the yen falling right now than a coming typhoon. So honestly, I think that's kind of been the bigger issue. It's sometimes if it's typhoon coming, they can get a little jittery, but the issue of the yen becoming weak relative to a lot of other major U.S., not just U.S. currency, but major currencies around the world. I think that's kind of been the bigger picture issue right now. So I don't think even if it's open tomorrow, it's already been kind of wavering for the past few weeks now, ever since the yen shot up from a 103 about 4 months ago to almost 110 just in the past couple of weeks. If you're living in Japan and you're going overseas for any kind of traveling, you're going to be burning a lot more yens in the process.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty rough one. So there's three meteorologists talking about economy. That is definitely not our expert field. All right.
We do numbers, just not the green kind.
That's your entertainment for this storm system. Hey guys, if you have any questions, let us know here. Hey, Roman just put this in here. Izu Peninsula, he just had a pretty strong wind gust just blow through there as well. Winds definitely already starting to pick up. I'll pull up the winds, the max winds. That's where I'm sorry, I'm getting back to the meteorology. I just don't feel comfortable talking about money to people. I don't want them to get mad at me. Yeah, we are still seeing the max wind gust today was 43 meters per second or 162 kilometers per hour there into Kagoshima Prefecture. But Roman's talking about some wind gust over towards the Izu Peninsula. Let's pull it up here. And yeah, they're seeing upwards, sustained winds upwards of about 11 meters per second there in the Shizuoka. 10 to 11 meters per second sustained last hour. So, yeah, these winds are still continuing to kick up there, guys. And that's exactly what we're going to be seeing. We already have a few thunderstorms flaring up ahead of this storm system. So through the overnight hours, you're still going to be seeing some rough weather. Oh, I'm still talking here. I thought I was on my screen share. If you guys see me looking off towards the side, let me know.
Everyone look at Robert's screen right now.
There we go. Here's my pretty screen. I was looking at the radar imagery. I thought I was sharing it here with you guys. It's just the side of my head. Yeah, so we already got these thunderstorms, and throughout your overnight hours, you're going to see this weather really increase, guys. But as we've mentioned numerous times, once we get into the early morning hours, that's when the winds really are going to start to pick up. Right now, we're starting to see these outer rain bands, and these could still have the potential for some damaging. Actually, let's click the screen here. Let's see if we got, yeah, there we go, tornado level 1 advisories in place for Shizuoka and extending off there towards the west. So, hey, that's a pretty low probability, but you sometimes in these outer rain bands can see, especially when these storms come on shore, that threat for some of these weaker tornadoes, but it's something we don't mention very often, but they do occur, and they can cause some damage, especially when these vortices really start to kick up with these outer rain bands.
Speaking of the rain bands, just saw that Ibaraki Prefecture was also added to the list of concerns for inundation and heavy rainfall. So, I mean, as we progress through the next several hours, it's going to continue to spread toward the north because of all that rain. I mean, we're talking about significant amounts of rainfall, so be prepared for that.
Yeah, and it's coming off that Richard Kerr there just posted about a half an inch in the last 2 hours. Yeah, that's what we've been seeing. We just actually see some reports about 50 millimeters an hour. That's still a potential, and it's going to be coming down out here, and it's still along the coastline. We got storms coming in right now. Yeah, hey. You guys want to be wrapping things up here, though. Let's see if we can get some last-minute questions coming in here. If anybody doesn't have any last-minute questions about this storm system, maybe we could just run through the forecast one more time and call it a day. You guys, Mike, do you want to jump in? Jonathan, I see you got your Winsome model up there. Do you want to run through that again?
Yeah, this one's actually something that we didn't get to show before. This is the wind forecast as we go throughout the next 48 hours. And you can see that we're still looking at 30 to 40 meters per second wind speeds. That green shade showing around 40 meters per second. And you can see how it's expected to clip and affect Tokyo, Kanagawa Prefecture, and also into Chiba Prefecture as well. So this is still a typhoon. It will come and affect the conditions with typhoon strength winds as we continue through the next 24 hours. Just as a side note, down toward the south, that other typhoon, Vongfong, it's not really gaining any steam, at least according to our model, until probably within the last frame or so. So we'll be keeping an eye out on that.
Yeah, I think there's some stuff up in the air with Vongfong in the long range. Right now, could you see some typhoon strength winds for Rhoda and Saipan specifically, but in the long range, yeah, we're going to keep an eye on that one.
Yeah.
And speaking about that, one of the questions actually Ray in the chat brought up about a tropical disturbance east of the Philippines, and a lot of the probabilities with that hinge on the future development of Vongfong. Right now, at least I pulled up GFS on it. I mean, yeah, there is that disturbance just east of the Philippines. It really doesn't grab a whole lot of strength, and really what you see happening over the next few days is it tries to develop a little bit, but then it gets influenced by Vongfong and just kind of fizzles out. All the while, we're still getting some influence of the southwest monsoon there over the Philippines. So still looking at rainfall across the Philippines, but in terms of a tropical cyclone development, right now it doesn't look favorable, but again, a lot of it's going to depend on the future track of Vongfong. If it fizzles out completely, I mean, that the likelihood of that really happening is very low. But that all these different scenarios can play into future roles of the other disturbance.
Hey guys, I got some breaking news that just came in. Um, this always blows my mind. This is grim news right now. And we got a lot of military watching. 3 American soldiers have been washed away due to high waves in Okinawa. Looks like, yeah, they went swimming. Okinawa Prefecture's 3 American military members went swimming. They were off the coast about 200 millimeters. One of the 3 people have been rescued. Floating and approximately 2.5 hours later, but he was unconscious. I'm translating this right now. He's been taken to hospital, so from what I'm reading here, that would mean 2 people are still missing. Yeah, that's big news. Some people decided to go for a swim in these high waves here this afternoon and this evening. Some American military members. 3 people are missing. Here, I'll put the article up here on your guys' chat, and I'm going to post it on the Facebook page if anybody else wants to see this.
Maybe this is a good opportunity for us to talk about this real quick. I know that a lot of people say, oh, the eye is not expected to be right over Okinawa, or, oh, the system's not supposed to be right on top of it, so it's going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay. Whenever we talk about any type of tropical system, the impact is always far greater than where the center of circulation is located. And Okinawa was still in the area where we're going to see very strong winds and very high waves. And so it's very difficult to hear that kind of story, especially since it could have been preventable for this type of situation to ever happen. And this is the same thing we talked about in the previous hour when it comes to T-core type such systems, things like that. Please use your common sense. I know sometimes the waves, in fact, we had a comment chat saying, oh, we have some people who are out at Indochima surfing the waves. But you are taking your life into your own hands when you do that. And so this is the reason why we do these types of webcasts, just to get the information out there that, look, this system really is going to cause problems. It already has caused problems, and it will continue to cause problems. And so please make sure that you take the necessary precautions. For those of you living in the Kanto region, please go ahead now if you happen to not have food. Robert was talking about this, that maybe the storm will pass, but remember the supply trucks get delayed and you'll end up running out of food if you don't prepare now. So go ahead and prepare for the system now so that you are not running into this issue in the next couple of days. And always, please, I hate to say it this way because it always sounds childish, but please use your common sense, because only you know what's best for you and for your family. The systems are there to advise you. What we're doing is here to advise you and to keep you aware on what the forecast is. But you have to make the decision for your family, and so please be smart about any decisions that you do, especially going outside. And for those of you who haven't tied down your equipment outside, if the storm hasn't come over your area yet, like the Kanto region, please tie it down now. We don't want trampolines flying through the air as the system comes over. And that story always comes up. It always shows up. So please take the time to tie things down. We want to make sure that you make it through this safely. The better you're prepared, the better you will be able to weather the storm. And this will go through in the next 24 to 36 hours. And then it'll get cooler but sunnier and things will be a lot better. But we want to make sure that you're safe. Your life is the most important thing in this whole reason, and that's the whole reason why we do this.
Yeah, this is some pretty. Just to follow off of that, yeah, if it looks dangerous, it probably is, and this is what bothers me about this. This is a totally preventable situation. I just got some more information, just looking this through this news feed here. Yeah, 2 men are still definitely missing. Coast Guard, Japanese and American military out there looking for them. Winds are still very strong. There's still high waves out there. I know conditions were not that bad today, and I know that the military, you were just put on storm watch. Yeah, storm watch means it's rough out there, and waves are definitely very dangerous. 1 man was rescued. but he was unconscious. Thing about Japanese, I'm not going to go there. Japanese media they'll always just say they're unconscious until a doctor looks at them. So let's hope that he was taken to the hospital and does recover, and the other two are rescued here. But very sad situation. This is definitely not good news here.
I do want to hit on something though. When you brought this whole thing up, the first thing that jumped in my mind was complacency. And when I was, over the course of the weekend, I'm tracking a lot of the military Facebook pages, getting updates on T-Core. And one of the posts I saw on Kadina's Facebook page was they had scheduled pirate days over in the marina. It was canceled for this weekend due to the storm. And I remember going through some of the comments, and one particular one, this typhoon isn't going to be anywhere near us. Why is everybody freaking out over this storm? This is some misinformation. And it just caught my attention that a storm, you don't have to be, Jonathan, you said it just right. You don't have to be in the eye to be feeling the effects of this storm. And thankfully, Kadena had popped on here and said, this is an underwater event, and even though the storm's 300 miles away, it's going to create a safe environment out there, and we're absolutely seeing that. The effects of the storm are felt well away from the center of circulation, and especially with a system that is undergoing extratropical transition, you start to see that wind field expand. Well, that just means those winds, those waves especially, are going to extend even further, hundreds of miles.
Yeah, and actually I saw that same comment there, Mike. Kind of interesting you brought it up. A lot of people were posting on that Facebook page. I monitor the Kadena base there and see what the concerns for people are, and there was a lot of comments there, people saying, yeah, it's passing towards the east, not that bad. We did see some wind gusts across Okinawa, actually. I haven't mentioned it, but we did see some tropical storms. Indeed, you're not going to head out to the ocean, and they canceled that event. It was a very smart, and I'm really happy the way their people there handled that comment, because they weren't trying to undermine the storm. They were playing it safe, not overreacting, but not underacting. And this is the other thing about the T-Core system that bothers me, and this will be a topic for another time, but tropical storm warnings were put in place for Okinawa Prefecture from the Japan Meteorological Agency. People there knew, yeah, but it is what it is, and that's the way they run their thing. So
yeah, the high wave warnings, in fact, I remember they were posted on Friday. I mean, the high wave warnings for Okinawa were posted on Friday. So, I mean, it's not like people didn't know. I mean, we were expecting 5 to 10 meter waves, and that was 2-3 days. I mean, that was actually more like a day or two out, but still, we knew that this was going to be an issue, and so please be safe. And the thing is, always be aware. There's no, we don't sit here and go, this agency is the best, or this agency. Sometimes we'll say they were a little bit closer to the forecast during the past track, or things like that. But we like to look at all of the options that are out there, and we try to do that so that we get the best information available. And I would encourage you, for those of you who are a little bit more of a weather enthusiast, if you say, oh, I prefer JMA, then take some time to look at some of the other agencies like JTWC. Help get yourself informed. Look at what the process of their thought is when it comes to forecast. If you're saying, I'm with JTWC, well, that's fine, but take some time to read some of the JMA available products, because by using both, that's how you can be better informed. We meteorologists do this all the time. We don't look at just one model. We don't say, oh, this is the great model, we hang on to this. We look at multiple ones, and that's how we start. Because models are computers. They are not people. They don't understand art forms of the forecasting. They only understand the numbers of the forecasting, and numbers can be wrong at times. In fact, it is wrong at times, and that's the reason why I strongly encourage you that if you are wanting to be informed about the situation, then this is the way to go. To always look at the widest expanse possible when it comes to your resources, and then be able to track it along and then learn from that. That's how we all end up learning when it comes to forecasting.
I couldn't say that any better. All right, guys. Yeah, and I'm looking for some more questions. Looks like the questions are starting to taper off. Of course, we're going to continue to monitor that situation. What I put up here on the screen is all the different agencies from Hong Kong to Japan to the United States, China, Taiwan, Korea, and Vegas is not warning on this.
Did we lose Robert's mic here? Uh-oh, we lost Robert. Um, well, we lost a couple of people here. Okay, well, Robert was talking about the different agencies there and what the various agencies warning on that. I did want to let you know there was a question when it came to our coverage. We won't be doing a webcast tomorrow morning, but we will be on NHK World. Robert will be in the studio. I will be out live in the field, and so we will be covering this as we go throughout the morning hours, because since it is affecting Tokyo directly, we're going to be taking that time period from the morning hours and try to keep everyone updated as we go throughout the morning and into the afternoon hours. And so for those of you who are saying we'd like to continue to watch more information coming from us, Robert and I will be on starting at 8 o'clock local time here in Japan. And so we will be tag teaming. That way you can watch NHK World. For those of you who are not familiar with NHK World, you can watch for free online. Just search for NHK World in Google, and the video player is there for free. And so, again, starting Monday morning, that's the way you can get the latest information when it comes to the storm as it comes on shore. Because, again, the timing when we see the highest amount of winds will during the time period will be around 8, 9 o'clock and lasting through the afternoon. The winds will start to taper off by the evening hours, but we will still be dealing with some heavy rainfall as we go through the overnight period tonight and also into Monday night as well. Okay.
Yeah,
Welcome back. We made it.
about that. Just talking away, and it just shut off on me. Pull up the track one more time for everybody then. Let's just show it really quick here. Just get your times, your bearings down. Basically, your Monday morning shot, though, if you're in Tokyo. We had questions about the Kii Peninsula over through Izu. Yeah, guys, it's going to be coming. It's not just the winds, but also the rainfall. I mean, you can see where the heaviest rain accumulations based on this particular computer model are showing. Parts of the Kanto Plain, I mean, we're going to be seeing about 500 millimeters. The Kii Peninsula as well. Your winds could be gusting upwards about 100 knots right near the immediate coastline, all the way from the Kii Peninsula over through the Izu Peninsula. Roman also reporting there. He's going to be actually sharing some information with us here on Monday. I do think he's going to be heading out during the morning hours to send us some videos, so tune in on our Facebook page for that. We'll be relaying that there for you. Monday, already in the early morning hours, it's going to be rough out there, but from 9 a.m. through 3 p.m. Tokyo Metro, that's when you're going to be hit. Earlier, if you're farther towards the south, Nagoya, during the early morning hours, 6 a.m., it's really going to be pushing overhead there. That's really just me wrapping things up there for that. You guys got any final words on this?
Please be safe wherever you are. That cannot be emphasized enough. Please be safe.
Absolutely. Not only please be safe, but again, and this has already been said a few times, take some time, go outside, take all your belongings that's unsecured, take care of them. Because I mean, I guarantee you we're going to see the flying trampoline video out there, but all the other stuff, all the pots and plants and all that, if you have something unsecured, just take the time now rather than having to chase it down later down the street.
Yeah, and for those of you into Guam, I know you're watching from there as well. Yeah, just follow your local warnings. The good news for Guam, and I said this earlier, it is English information available there. Just stay indoors. I mean, the typhoon warnings are in place, so most things are shut down on Guam. People do take those storms rather serious there. When we had Halong go through, everybody stayed indoors. We did see some significant flooding. So we're still watching Typhoon Vongfong out there, and of course Typhoon Phanfone over towards the west. Hey, we got a lot of stuff going on. So as Jonathan mentioned, throughout the day here on Monday, NHK World, you can watch there. We're going to continue to bring you updates and information on everything going on, not only here, but also on our website and on our Facebook page. You can also follow me on Twitter at Robert Speta. Mike, how do you spell your Twitter handle?
It's Senor, Senor, and then Pepper, Pepr.
Yeah, it's right there. Actually, you can see it on your bottom. He has it up there. So,
Yeah.
and Jonathan O, just go check out Jonathan O at John TV there on his Twitter as well. You go follow all of us.
JH on TV. Yep.
And also, I got to give one more shout out to our good friend James Reynolds at EarthUncut.tv. Follow him on Twitter. Unfortunately, he's been having the debacle going on with Guam and Saipan, and his flights were canceled, and all his camera equipment was flown to Saipan, but he's stuck in Guam. He'll be out there shooting some footage as well. So a lot of coverage ongoing with this storm system, and we're going to continue to keep you posted.
In Japanese, we say "Gochui kudasai." Please be safe. A big thanks to everyone. Thank you so much for watching. That really means a lot that you're taking the time to watch and chat with us and be a part of the discussion as well.
Yeah, I did see a lot of comments, so really appreciate that feedback. But we have been running live for 1 hour and 45 minutes now. It is getting to that time. And yeah, everybody stay safe out there. And yeah.